Okay. We are recording.
Now I'm going to run anything I say for my turn before I say it out loud. So if you have any questions on previous projects, and I can run down just real quick what is currently listed in the budget. This is a 5-year out capital improvement projects budget timeline. And we also have what are called ARPA projects that were done as part of ARPA funds. So what is currently on City Council's radar, I guess you could say, as documented in the budget. Portland Lose in the Parks, that project just got completed. We finished all the locations for that. Pickleball courts, this goes back to council later this month, actually, and we will be bringing back cost estimates. We already talked about this at the last board meeting, and you guys made a recommendation to council to explore options of additional courts on city property at one of the parks. Smith Park native plant renovation. This will probably tweak a little bit into, and just a side note with all of these were all put into the budget. This is kind of Blaine's placeholder and best guess in the interim before they hired me on. So a lot of these projects, I went in and looked at the history, scratched my head at a few, and we'll probably pivot on a few of these. We'll reallocate funds. We'll put some of these, just put a pin in it for a later date. Some of these we'll dig up and move on right away. But a lot of that is going to be, I think, informed in the direction we go based off of what your guys' priorities that we start putting together today are. So Smith Park, I think this was originally put in to do wildflowers and just kind of let the park be more naturalized. For many different reasons, we're not going to do that. We will make improvements to the park that include improvements to the gazebo, taking out that light pole, putting some safety lighting along the pathway. We will make ADA improvements to the pathway, have lighting for the gazebo, repaint the fences on the north and south side. There's 2 granite pillars that we're going to carve Smith Park into, along with the date of the park. We're bringing to council a proposal to list it on the historical registry. And right now we have an application in to include Smith Park on the Washington State Historical Registry, which Oak Harbor has no sites on the historical registry, which is kind of interesting for being a more historical town. This would be a very first effort and hopefully one of several we would do. And then we are going to rough out and designate an area in the southwest portion of the park. It's a little more heavily treed, so it's difficult to do maintenance with. And that'll be a botanical flower bed that the garden club will put in and maintain. We have a boulder there that will fasten a plaque celebrating their centennial, which is this year on. And all the improvements we want to make, if we're going to designate it as a historical site, we're going to try and put in some historical feel in, have like some wrought iron and different things that give it kind of that old timey feel.
Is this document you're referring to, where can we find that?
That's the city's budget. So the approved 2023, 2024 budget.
Just trying to find it on the website.
Yeah, we can send it out to you. But if you go on the website under, I think it's government and then finance, you should be able to see a link for the budget.
Thank you.
And right now I'm on page, I guess this is page 105 in the budget. So this is in the capital projects
Up to
section.
23, 24.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. Let's see, the next one on here is Harbor Heights Sports Complex Development, phase 1. So the city has procured the 75 acres. Right now it's listed as on hold. We have a budget of 5.1 million for this. 2025 has unsecured grants, which means they'd like us to go get almost $4 million in grants. And then there's 885,000 in REIT funding for this project. So a lot of it, most of it is totally unfunded. I think we need to do a site visit there. I did a site visit and my very first thought was, what I think the site wants to be certain things, right? I think trying to force it to be completely level and flat soccer fields, like 9 of them, like doesn't even make sense. It would be cost prohibitive to even try and do that.
Yep.
We definitely could do some sports fields. And I think we can address the original reason the city went after this was to replace the fields that would be lost at Fort Legion Park when the school gets built on it. They didn't pass their levy, so it's going to still be, several years out. So I think we have time to hold on that and I think really take a close look at it as a group and have a discussion on what is the highest use and greatest good to the community for this property. Is it sports fields? Is it trails? Is it a site for a recreation center? Is it, there's a lot of different things we do with it. Right now, it's not even designated parkland yet, but that's the intent of the purpose. So what's best use for that? Athletic field renovations. This is again unfunded. There's an earmark for $300,000 for next year to do improvements to many of our athletic fields. We have another $50,000 in refunding for playground equipment renovation. This is at Smith Park. I think we need to have more discussion on what should Smith Park be, because we don't want every park to be everything to everyone, right? I think there's value in having some parks that are more natural open spaces, a quiet place, wooded place. Some parks should be heavily programmed with recreational activities in fields. Some parks should be non-program spaces where people can come and just play, good playgrounds, picnics, things like that. And it'll be a good idea for us to go through our inventory and kind of identify, okay, what are the main uses at each of these parks? What do each of these parks want to be? Where are the gaps of services and amenities in the community that we want to address? Most of our playgrounds are very outdated, and I think we need to be heavily addressed in that area, and would love to put in more, or at least have a standard that as we replace the playgrounds, all of them are fully accessible, they're universal design. On top of that, I think having a premier regional draw playground that serves people with all abilities, doesn't just have the token, the token wheelchair swing and maybe one ramp up or whatever that most playgrounds do, but something's really designed for people not only with physical disabilities, but also cognitive issues, whether it's Down syndrome or autism or different things like that. Are there sensory things for them? Also, more sensory deprivation places, like some of those little Connex spheres and things where, okay, but way too many kids, let's go over here and play where it's quiet and not causing overstimulation issues. 7th Street Wetlands Trail feasibility study. This is scheduled out for 2025, 2026. I think as we go along our multimodal and trails plan, we'll have more discussion on this one, but that one's out a little ways.
One question on that
Yeah.
property is knowing that road's getting redone this year, isn't it right? North, where they're going, is it next year where Northeast or that is getting sidewalks and being modernized? Are we going to contingency put in things for curbs for access to that property, since that would likely be access, or are we gonna have to redo that all and make a mess of the street that we just finally fixed? Am I wrong on that? That's on the agenda?
Yeah, I don't know for sure enough to give you a definite answer on that. I imagine that they are going to do that. Well, I'll have to ask our city engineer about it. I don't know enough about that.
Okay. I just know that- I feel like from talking with streets, if that was the thing that was happening, that road is getting. It's on Fund 103 on page 120. Yeah. That's scheduled to start this year.
And really, this is just the planning and feasibility study
Sure.
for in the Seventh Avenue. But as far as the Seventh Avenue itself, the improvements there, I don't know.
I
can
just-
find out for
You
you.
know, if we make a beautiful sidewalk and then find out we're going to put access into their two-way access into a parking lot and then just tear it up right afterwards, that's sort of silly. Waste of money.
But this one's more around wetlands and trails through there.
Yeah, for
Sure, good question. The next one is Ridge Haven Park Playground Equipment Renovation. This is, it's a placeholder for refunding, 68,000. This is kicked back out to 2027. As I said, we'll probably look at a lot of these playground improvement projects and pull them forward as we go along, especially if we get grant funding that we can use to match the refunding with. Sumner Park Playground Equipment Renovation, the same. Volunteer Park, Skate Park Renovation, also the same, 2027. Sunrise Rotary Dog Park Expansion. This is placed on hold right now. And I think it's just kind of waiting for us to have a conversation and decide what we want to do as far as dog parks go. I think a lot of the public that was there at our last meeting wanted to talk about dog leash laws. I know there's a discussion about it. We were going to put on the agenda, which makes me I'm really curious how they heard about it since it actually wasn't on the agenda. But they wanted to have comments on it. So when I think we have it on the next agenda is when, what's his name is available for it?
Officer Woodruff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I put it in the folder for May
Okay.
meeting, so we'll confirm that.
And that's what I think probably mostly around dog issues at Windjammer. Pretty much anywhere where you have a high density housing structure, very rarely do they really put in the appropriate open space that they need to support those places. Because, you know, you have kids that need to run around, you have dogs that need to be walked and let out. And so like the condos there by Windjammer, you know, the park serves as that for them because the developer didn't put anything in. Ideally in our code, they would be required to put in so much public open space, but a lot of developers, I think with the way code's written is they just pay a park impact fee. And it's contingent on us to kind of build that for them. But that is dependent on whether we actually have city property adjacent to where we can do that. Otherwise, we're making expansion improvements because the funds can only be used on growing or expanding. We can't use it for replacing. We can only use it for, and even improving is kind of a gray area. It really is for higher capacity type projects.
Such a terrible provision.
So, you know, do we put a dog park in Windjammer Park to accommodate those condos? Do we just have a more higher enforcement presence? You know, is PD able to do that? It's always, anytime we're talking about public lands like this, the biggest issues are always enforcement. How do we do that? Or, you know, do we accommodate certain niche groups? Issues we'll have to talk about. Shoreline restoration, I think this is kind of getting taken out of our, not entirely out of our purview, I guess. We'll be involved with it, but it's going to be a bigger project than just the Windjammer Park shoreline. You see the sandbags along there that we have for erosion protection, but we're really doing a restoration project all the way from Fred Marsh out to the marina. And so it's just getting swallowed in that. So that's kind of it for park projects that are currently in the budget. But other than Windjammer Park improvements, which actually isn't been listed in here, We have $1.3 million right now for that we can use, or we can redirect those funds. In Harbor Heights, we have about 800,000 that we can do something with that, or we can redirect some of those funds. So we have a little bit of leeway on how we want to pivot some of these projects. If there are things that you feel, as we discuss, are high priorities that you would like us to start tackling, addressing right away, that you want to present to council with, hey, you know, whether it's, we think a adaptive playground is a #1 priority, or we really need to dive in with the school district on creating additional sports fields. If we're going to lose those fields, we need to start working on that project now. Whatever that is, I think we have ways of being able to financially support several, if not a few of the larger ones anyway, of those. And part of my job is, you know, going after grant funding and trying to leverage as much of what we have budgeted and get us to the end point of that. And you guys will help with that. We'll ask you guys for recommendation and things like that. But
So those dollar amounts you're talking about, are those time restricted? I mean, are they?
almost none of those that we just went over are tied in with grants that have a time limit to them. Most of those are what we call unsecured, which means that we don't have the funding that we want to go after the funding. So we're identified, all right, it's going to cost us much. Some of them have REIT funding or LTAC or different funding sources that we're planning on pulling funding out of. But almost everything, we're going to have to match that with something else, whatever it is. And Blaine and I have talked a few times about how do we provide a sustainable revenue source for park improvements. It's not something the city has ever done, and it shows, right? And there's several different ways to do it. We're one of 3 departments, along with fire and PD, that can go after different tax levies, and we've done that, and they've all been successful. Most of them have been in support of fire and PD, but we can throw parks in as well. That's fairly easy to do. You can also do a metro district, which is another way to do it. You can do a RAP tax, or recreation, arts, and parks tax, and all these things are, especially like a RAP tax, is usually based off of sales tax. So, you know, property and utility taxes are not popular. They're painful and people don't like them. Sales tax, that's an easy sell, right? Because you're having tourists and people from out of town help support it, and you don't even notice it, right? It's 1 cent of every $100 you spend that's going towards this. All right, so that's my kind of overview of here we are, fairly unstructured. It's kind of been going along, but you guys are a fairly new board, and you have the chance to help create the vision for what our next steps for the city.
I would love to see the adaptive playground get moving. It's something that's been talked about for a while. Nobody's really done much with it. I think that would be something. Yeah. Considering our community has a relatively high percentage of kids with special needs. I'm sorry. The adaptive playground, I think, is something that should be a priority, considering the percentage of kids in our community that have special needs and a little bit higher than other communities. Maybe I think it would have a big benefit. I think a lot of people would be on board with it. I know everyone on city council that I've mentioned it to is really excited about it. So that would be my top priority personally.
Do we have statistics on that? Like how many kids of certain age range
The
and stuff?
school district does. We just
Yeah.
went over it at
Yeah.
a PTA meeting a couple months ago, but I can get that actual
Yeah, because
number.
anecdotal, I feel like everything you're saying is like from my observation from talking to folks like that. I just was curious about
No,
numbers.
it's
Yeah.
absolutely. that
And the
is-
reason I say that is because the Navy base is like an exceptional families Navy base, which is specifically for kids or families with kids of special needs. So we kind of,
Draw all
you
of those
know,
families.
all
in,
those
yeah.
Navy families.
To that end, is there a partnership with them to realize this, Brian? With the Navy
Yeah,
or this
I
type of
think-
recreation? I mean, because we certainly want to
Yeah, and Councilor Wiesner had identified a community infrastructure grant for communities that support Navy or military operations to exactly provide infrastructure that is recreation, fun based, something to provide interest and activity for those communities. So that's kind of our financial link with them, but they. I finally got to meet Eric, I think his name was, the CEO of the base. So we're going to have a site visit with him next month. And we're going to talk about, what are the opportunities to partner and, here's what we hear from the community, which, half of them are your guys' families of improvements that, they like to see. What are you able to help support? So
Sounds awesome.
So first one, I guess, would be park facilities. And I'm just kind of going down this powers and duties and just pulling out kind of what the main, your areas of responsibilities. Next one would be programming. Next one is trees, both the right of way, urban canopy, green spaces, things like that. You could also consider this conservation.
Mine your way.
Oh, no, you're
Okay.
fine.
Just going with my head.
Funding. And Parks and Recreation departments are kind of unique in that in city departments, in that there's almost an expectation of, hey, go after alternative funding, because we're one of the few departments that can do that. There's a lot of grants that are available for Parks and Recreation agencies, but also we can charge user fees, which a little different than any other department, whether it be for facilities or programs or different things like that. So, we'll have discussions on our fee schedules. What are we charging for use of, park facilities like the kitchens or pavilions, but also field rentals. And as we create recreation programs, all right, how do we do this in a way that is financially sustainable for the city, where it can pay for its staff and operational costs, but also is not cost prohibitive for the community? How do we make it so it's as inclusive as possible? And there's different avenues for that. Like one is, okay, maybe instead of trying to price it to the lowest common denominator, we price it to what it needs to be to support the program. But then we look at different programs that, whether it's like a scholarship program or whatever, for families that need assistance for that. We want to identify any barriers to participation and then create ways for people to get around those, whether it's transportation or time or cost, or maybe it's language barriers for non-English speakers, whatever that is. Property equipment should prepare parks and recreation. Okay, so this is really talking about planning, I guess. Master plan, visioning for what do you want the city to look like, which is a big part of it. What are the amenities the city should have, which kind of covers all of these, right? It's sort of the culmination of those other things: park facilities and recreation programming, open spaces, conservation, trees, and funding. And then rules, policies, like approvals. Sorry, I'm just chicken scratching on here, but that kind of encapsulates right now what you have listed out for your powers and duties. You guys all agree with that? Anything you feel like should be tweaked from this list?
I marked a couple of things.
So
What about marketing, information, however you want to state it. I know there's an effort for some online presence that isn't there now.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, marketing both for promotion of our programs and, you know, what facility amenities are available, but also educational initiatives. I think where you're going to be really valuable to the city is helping us celebrate ourselves, right? Putting a spotlight on, hey, did you know we do this? You know, we do this. The center's pretty good with their marketing for older adults. So I'm hoping that will roll over into our recreational programming. We could do a lot better on marketing our parks, especially as we make improvements to them and we put in new playgrounds and we make you know, fun improvements and have new amenities for people.
We're going to identify that as an issue. Are these considered issues on your public?
These are basically what makes up your powers and duties, right? So these are topics of, all right, the council saying Parks and Recreation Board, we're assigning these key issues to you, right? This is what we want you to advise us on are these main points. So I guess my question to you, what would be in that second column then, is key issues. What are your key issues in each of these facilities? So where I heard Carrie say, well, for park facilities, that would be inclusive facilities, right? So then from your key issue of being an inclusive facility, inclusive playgrounds, let's say. Your goal then for that would be to install a universal design playground, right? So then your action items, I would say would be, all right, let's bring back a list of potential appropriate sites for the playground. Let's identify what is the cost going to be. Let's talk with some contractors and get cost estimates for it. Maybe let's go do a field trip and do a site visit to, you know, what do we have anything locally in the region that would be, hey, this is kind of what we're envisioning. And we don't have to go outside. I can bring you little presentations of different playgrounds I've been to. I have all kinds of pictures. But even from around the country, I would say, hey, this is ideally what we're looking at. This is the vision of it. This is what a cost associated to build something like that would be, and see if we're kind of on track with that. And then also with the action items, someone else really should be the scribe here.
I think you're doing great compared to me.
So we would look at just create the vision, location, cost. Why is this? Cost estimates. What's that?
Funding sources, strategic partnerships.
Yeah, cost estimates, funding, right? And probably look at funding sources, see, okay, do we have any existing funding, or are there any projects where this really would take priority over that we could redirect some of that funding towards this? You know, create a schedule, look at what would be needed for any permits, depending on the location, yada, yada, yada. So everything that goes into building the playground. I just went through this, like literally last year, we had a $900,000 grant from the federal, from the Land Water Conservation Trust. It's a federal grant, and Rotary Club matched part of that, and they helped us with the funding. And most of these playground builders, like they will help you fundraise. They're pretty good at it. And so anyway, identifying all that stuff, and then staff and board. Cool. So this is your. So really, it's the values. What are the issues in those values that are important to you as a board? What is it that we want to do this year to address those? So this is going to be like your problems. Here's what's important to the community. Here's the problem that we're trying to solve in that. Here's what we want to do this year. Here's how we're going to do it, and who's going to do it. All make sense? So that's a kind of a good example. So let's say Brian, Sally, or Carrie on. Who wants to be on anyone else? I'd like one or two at least on each of one of these. Right?
I'd love to be a part of that. You spelled my name wrong. C-A-R-R-I-E.
See, oh, yeah, I did the whole.
And I was looking at it like, who's that Carrie?
Yeah. I
he
didn't know if
talking
there was
about?
another Carrie or not.
I promise I can write much clearer than this. It's like I'm talking and writing at the same time, but anyway. Anyway, so here's your kind of format, right? So I'm not going to do this for you guys. I'm just kind of showing you how this goes. I'm going to turn it over to you and let you head this up now.
Do you want me to write up there too?
We're having a discussion. Sure. If you want.
Okay.
That's how he got himself off the marker. You see that?
So you had mentioned this is kind of a this year, plan.
A what?
This is a this year.
Yes. So
This is like at my house.
let's call it the 2023-2024 goals and priorities, right? I think it should go in line with the budget, which is biennial budget. So,
So I actually have another key issue that would go under parks facilities is sports fields, which is not only a huge issue for soccer and baseball, but now we have the new rugby league, and we're experiencing all of that right now out of Fort Nugent, and it is extremely difficult. We've definitely, like, I think at this point now, we're gonna be out there from like 9 until 7, almost 8 p.m. just because there's such a limited space with so many families. that are
so
participating.
you're not talking about just improvement of fields, but we need additional sports. We need additional capacity.
Yeah, I would say Fort Nugent could use some improvement, but knowing that those lower fields are gonna go back to the school district eventually, I think that would be a waste of money. But yeah, we definitely need more fields.
And I would say that's across the board, not just with like soccer and football fields, but also baseball fields. When we had the fire out here at Coochie Park, so we lost a shed, and they put a bunch of ruts in the field. We asked them, hey, can we relocate the game somewhere else? No, because they were all being used. They were at capacity.
Yep.
So, and I think that's the same way with our sports fields as well. And on top of that, I mean, it's not just fields, but it's also courts.
Yeah, so I would say sports facilities. That might capture indoor and outdoor fields and courts. Yeah, no.
Yeah. What do you guys think?
I mean, we don't
Because
have-
then we're gonna
we
break
don't
it
have any
down.
indoor
into the next
facilities,
one.
right?
Yeah.
So,
I was gonna say,
There is no indoor facility.
looking through the 2019 Parks Recreation Open Spaces Plan, I was looking at the survey that they did, I think in 2017, and reading all the responses.
Yeah.
Pickleball courts were a big thing. Indoor sports facilities was also another thing that I saw repeatedly people talking about. So I don't know if that would roll in together or if the indoor sports facilities would be a completely separate thing, but I just wanted to throw that out there.
you could probably like break that out as you go along, right? So
Yeah,
just
you break it
sports
out to
facilities
the
in
next
general,
column.
and then your goals would be,
Yeah.
to investigate additional fields as well as, baseball diamonds or indoor facilities. You can kind of break each one of those because those are going to be, it'll be different how we approach each one of those. They're different uses and different funding types. Where fields, that's done usually by a league with an agreement, or we rent the field. An indoor facility, we could do memberships, we could do per use fee. There's different ways of funding those.
So action items.
Well, we need some real estate.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think it would be similar to the inclusive playground action items, right?
So vision, the locations, funding.
With a vision of maybe say like, what is the need, right? Really identify we know we need more fields. What is an appropriate amount for the demand?
right, we need participation statistics, we need an understanding of the seasonality and actual use of the space. There's a lot of things there. I mean, will the seasonality change? Should there be more facilities, right? Because soccer has two-month seasons for reg, and then
Well,
You
2
know,
months
all
for
that.
rec and
and
then
then you have
all
the
year for
select. And so, like,
select.
how do we make sure we program all of those? So I think understanding the seasonality, football now,
And
rugby,
base-
right,
yeah,
and baseball, and
Baseball goes
all
all year
those
pretty
things.
much.
That's also a good point, is also, we need to plan not for today, but for tomorrow, right? So rugby is a new program. We're about to start recreation programming. I'm sure some of that will be some kind of field sports at some
Yeah.
point. So what's the future, not just the demand now or the need now, but what's going to be the demand in the next 20 years?
So just from a format, since we're just getting started here now, how specific do we want to get under goals and priorities? So if we go sports facilities, do we want to list soccer, one of the sports, and then bring it over and assign them responsibilities? Because this is pretty large category.
Yeah,
I mean, if we have to prioritize between soccer fields or baseball fields or pickleball courts or whatever it is, where would that breakout take place? Under goals or under action items?
So you want to keep in mind that anything you're putting in that goal priorities, this is like 2023, 2024, right? What is it that you want to accomplish in the next 2 years? So the question then has to be, well, can we install sports fields in the next 2 years? We can, but we're not going to be able to do 5 of them, right? We might be able to work in agreement with the school district that their transportation area that they're trying to move out, that we, what's Memorial
Old Memorial.
Park, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
That we renovate those fields and put in sports fields there.
Remember the old stadium used to be?
Yeah.
Mhm,
Yeah,
right.
okay, yeah, the bus barn.
So
That
really,
field actually
really
is no
identifying,
longer
okay, what can we
available next
actually
year.
bite off and swallow, in the
They're
next,
redoing it.
in the next 2 years? What,
Oh, yeah, I heard that.
and I already showed you, there's not a lot that's funded right now. And none of these things that we're talking about are actually funded yet. But we do have some funding in these other larger projects that are kind of waiting in the wings that we can redirect. So we're going to have to be very purposeful and, okay, is it worth it to move money out of this for this project?
I think in the next 2 years, what we need to do is locate an alternative site and begin to do it independently of, because whether Fort Nugent's gone today or in 2 years, I mean, I know they're working hard to try to figure out any possible way they can get it with or without levy. Because soccer alone needs to stand independent of that and not be held hostage by that. And so that, I think that should be the goal, is trying to locate where, and even if it's unfortunately multi-site to begin with, till we can secure it at a localized place, which would be much more family friendly. I think that's what we have to
Yeah.
attack first, because they need stability in that. Soccer specifically needs some stability there, and since they have such active participation and something that other people can actually park and not run over children, it feels like, or not park in my driveway.
So I'd say that identifies, the
So-
specific is we need to replace 2 fields and we need to add on 2 additional onto that. So really, we're looking at, 4 fields.
Not sure if my writing's much better than yours.
So that's fine.
Way better.
Okay, so this is gonna be our main issue for within the
Yeah.
next 2 years.
Yeah, I think indoor facilities is a longer term vision because 1, it's never been done. 2, it's going to be exceedingly expensive. And 3,
Yeah.
it needs to be profitable. And that's a whole different strategy around that. I mean, it needs to be an income earner. So many of those are lost leaders for communities that have, so we need to, I think that's not 2-year plan.
I would put under the action items for that, for the fields is school district partner. And we've already started having some of those discussions with them. But they're the reason we're gonna lose these fields.
And additionally, is there anything if they can explore with the Navy again to help partner, figure out resources that way,
Right,
since
yeah.
half to 3/4 of those kids are Navy dependents, What can they do to help us either secure or use or what?
Well, before we get off it, what is our priorities for sports facilities? And if we're doing this real time, I think we need to say what is it? Is it, I mean, I don't know, you know better, you're entrenched in it. Is it soccer fields, is it rugby, is it baseball?
Yeah.
Because I think those are all gonna require separate action going down the road. Kind of hard to put all those in one, or is it?
Well, right now we have on there, replace 2 soccer fields and add 2 additional fields on top of that.
To
And by fields, do we
Are those
mean
all-
actually
are
the
those all
pitch
soccer
itself
fields?
or a field in which there's multiple pitches? Because that's a different thing. And I think the word matters because I think we need we need multiple pitches on multiple fields, most likely. I think we also need to put sports facilities, pickleball needs to be on there. It's been a long-standing thing. We just need to see.
And it's got some funding.
Is, and so we need to, need to see if that club wants to step up and help with that, I don't know what else qualifies as sports facilities. I mean, I represent the Would-Be Island Disc Golf Club in some ways, and they're going to get pinched. They're losing their disc golf course once that school gets built, essentially, and I've already lost most of it due to safety and sports usage out at Fort Nugent and/or lack of parenting. So, I mean, I've redesigned the thing twice to accommodate that, and it's going to go away. I mean, that's no longer going to be viable for that.
Yeah, let's put it up there. Disc golf is such a low hanging fruit, so easy to.
So easy, and it partners with walking trails and all the other stuff that we want to be about in so many places.
What about baseball? Is that an issue? Baseball fields?
Yeah, like I said, we're at capacity.
Is that true with softball as well?
Yeah, and
How come those fields are always so poorly taken care of then?
well, they're not ours.
Yeah, because I mean, like Volunteer Park has always been
Yeah,
dumps.
it's a school district
The
facility.
only time those fields were nice was when they had a corporate league, basically beer league softball that played on those things. Years ago was the only time those things have been taken care of in like 40 years of memory.
And really, all the ball fields need to
Yeah.
be renovated.
They're terrible.
I mean, they have like lips that are unsafe, it's like 2 or 3 inches of drop between infield and outfield.
Yeah, I mean, they need done badly. I think only football's the only one, and rugby, because they're new on the block, they get last bite at the apple. I think football has those 2 fields that
Yeah,
they
they'll
use.
still have.
They'll
those
be okay.
available.
Rugby, you can see how you do. I mean, is that harsh?
No,
I just think that they just started this year. Let's see what happens if it's flash in the pan, because we've had like Ultimate Frisbee pop up and have a whole bunch of people and then be gone, 18 months later too. But I think baseball needs attention. They really do.
When we talk about replace or add 2 additional fields,
Yeah.
we're not really identifying what those are. We just know that the 2 replacement fields are just to maintain the current capacity. Right? So we know we need additional. So that's why I put the 2 on there, whether that's soccer or football or whatever.
We just need to know, I think, what we're at least envisioning by subheading those, right? So, because it will get defined in the mind of whoever wants to, but if we list it at least as close to explicitly as we can, at least stays focused on the work.
So
At
what
least
are
that was
the
my thought.
two
I
soccer
don't know,
fields that we want to replace?
So that's gonna be all of the lower fields at Fort Nugent.
Okay. And that's two, there's only two soccer fields?
No, there are,
There's-
well,
Well, they use the top of that park too, but that's in conflict with football and rugby
Yeah.
constantly.
there's actually 4. Is that right? I think it's,
There's one horizontal, right?
How many actual soccer
I don't
pitches
know,
are in that
actual-
field?
so
many
there,
soccer
there's there's 1, 2,
Get the map.
3, 4, and oh man, maybe it's
So
actually
there's
6.
sometimes-
There's
That's what I
also the
thought, there's-
baseball
Yeah,
diamond, and that goes away as well.
yeah.
And I think they can put a field in. Most everyone uses kind of the 2 front ones, but there's actually room
Yeah, there's the lower back corner one
Yeah.
that's used for like a U12 field.
The marsh.
Yeah.
yeah, and we have it
Yeah.
listed out for field reservations. I think 6.
And the football field gets 3 that'll run horizontally on there for
Now
U10.
football are on the upper ones.
But soccer uses that
Yeah.
on
So
Saturdays.
Oh,
They
really?
put 3 on that top one, and then over the hill, the little berm, there's one more field over there. It's-
yeah, so how we have it set up for spring is the football field is gonna be the one full-size field. There'll be that
Okay.
back section that's
Mhm.
down up from the football field.
Yeah.
That'll be U12. And
Okay.
then on the lower fields, we can fit 1 U12 in the back corner, 3 U10s, 3 U8s, and 2 U6. And that's enough to keep us going all day long versus what we used to do was there were 3 time slots of the day. So we done by about
Yeah.
12 or 2.
Right.
And that front, like the bigger section, let's see here.
So how many of these
See,
setups can you?
So this whole section right here, that's unusable, especially for right now.
Because it's just too wet.
It's too wet and there's a lot of ankle breaker holes.
Okay.
Is that the front section closer to the road?
Yeah.
Yeah, especially when they dug in there to decide if it was feasible for constructing the school, they just left those holes. And they were like right in the middle of soccer fields, which was cool.
Awesome.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
then
I filled a
there's,
few of them, but it's never gonna be the same without equipment and totally resurfacing. I filled them by hand.
All right.
and then
we
there's
can go
also
outside
the
of it,
like
we can probably address
drainage grates that you have to position the fields around because the grass just covers those and you don't
don't
realize
work.
it until the ball just sinks
Yeah.
and stops.
Yep. Yeah, that field has just always been a problem because it was constructed so poorly. It was constructed for forward base. It wasn't constructed for actual sports fields, and no amount of money thrown at it's ever gonna fix that without completely digging it out. But now we don't have to worry about it. School district can dig it out. Have fun.
So if we're talking 23, 24 for this plan, it seems pretty obvious to me, we're not going to be able to construct new, so then the goal would be to be more specifically, it would be things like location, funding, those kinds of things, even though the ultimate goal for the 23, 24 wouldn't be construction of a new field.
I think if we can identify the location, we're probably mostly there with the funding. Like I said, we can redivert some of those Harbor Heights funds. Harbor Heights' biggest issue is that the site prep is so expensive and cost prohibitive to do anything in. But we have funding to actually put in the field. So we take this memorial stadium part where, we already have, we just need to go in and kind of regrade the site and then put in the turf. That can be done by next year.
Where's that at?
So it's over by where the transportation department is with all the school buses,
Midway.
off of Midway and Whidbey.
Kind of behind Oak Harbor Elementary School.
Okay.
And if that is really something that you want to look into, we really need to get on that with the school district now because they just told us that they're already planning on
redoing the grass as best as possible. Or I think so it'd be ready in not, I think they said spring or summer of 2024.
And are we talking just the grass that used to be the football stadium? That's it for in there? Or are we talking about demoing that whole thing and turning it into?
I don't know. I haven't looked
Okay.
that closely at it yet.
I didn't
We
know.
just identify it as a possible
Because-
site.
Yeah,
And we've had a couple discussions with school district about it already.
And if we did have we're able to do the funding and partner with the school district to make that into turf, that would be much longer lasting and wouldn't have to get fixed all the time.
do we have concerns about youth knee injuries though with sport turf? Because that's pretty significant, the amount of ACLs that go on field turf versus natural grass. I mean,
I don't know, so many cities have gone almost completely to.
it's because it's cheap, but knee surgeries are expensive. It's just something that bears looking at. I understand all the reasons for it. I just worry about, kids 16, 17 years old. I mean, we see it a lot.
And we don't need to get in the weeds with
Yeah.
No,
all these discussions. I mean, this is, high level of,
Sorry.
okay, here's the priorities of next couple of years, let's address these. And then we'll get into those discussions as we go through.
Yeah, I think we did probably.
And
school
then
districts moving
our
away.
action people should be able to come back to us
Right.
and inform us, educate us, go through all the pros and cons and all that.
Okay, so we're ready to move on to the staff part? All right, so assuming Brian, that'll be you. Do you want me to put Tally down too? Or,
Yep.
okay. Any other staff?
Why don't you put Patrick down? He's with the school district facility guy. And then whoever you want to be the point for the board.
Yep. I'll do that. Sorry.
Can I also
Yes.
participate in that?
Yeah.
I would like to be involved.
You read my mind.
Sweet, thanks.
Okay, so is that it for park facilities?
We gotta look at some of that playground equipment though I think there's a lot of 70s playground equipment out there, 80s playground
Even
equipment.
with some of the newer stuff like Fort Nugent.
Yeah.
The fill needs to be redone. It's
100%.
almost, totally worn through. And
Yeah.
so I guarantee it's not meeting our playground safety
No,
code. There should be 9 inches of fill depth.
Yeah.
Um,
no,
should
it's,
be- Yeah, so it's compacted in more ways, so much as
Yeah.
not that. So.
Okay, so do we
So
want to
each one of these
identify
sports
certain parts
facilities-
for that? Sorry.
I'm sorry. Each one of these sports facilities is going to play out the same goals, action items. They're not, they're not joined. Each one is going to require its own
Yeah.
line of action.
yeah, when we'll probably subdivide from inside there. I don't know, I guess my thought was with the park facilities was just, like Brian said, we have all this repetitive, redundant, old playground equipment. In every park. It was almost like we couldn't come up with anything else, so we just cookie cuttered, which is great, but I think we should probably revisit, one, those smaller park uses, and two, survey and assess and make a plan for replacing equipment.
And you saw that, I think we have
Right.
3 or 4 in the capital improvement budget addressing playgrounds specifically.
Exactly.
Do you want to put that in with inclusive playgrounds or just list it, or do you want to have it just separate of
I think it should
addressing?
be separate.
I feel
from
like
the
it's separate as
inclusive one.
well, yeah.
So,
I think the inclusive thing deserves its own initiative,
Maybe
standing
we can make
apart.
Playgrounds a general category, and then underneath that, put inclusive equipment, playground equipment, that kind of thing. You know what I'm saying?
I see that, but I think with the inclusive playground, it needs to be more than just the playground, like, cause like, I feel like when Brian came and talked to the board about it, it was needing it to be like fully fenced in as
Mhm.
well.
Yeah.
So
I
it's
feel like
more
the
than just
inclusive
the
playground is
equipment.
kind of its own separate idea, and then the playground equipment is just replacing what's existing in our existing playgrounds that we have, just
So
updating it, I guess.
about
And it's probably,
Equipment
that's probably part of a bigger conversation though about park use, which would then, the equipment would fall underneath that maybe. Because I don't think this could be just me, but I don't think we need to have that playground equipment in every single park like we do now. In fact, some of the updating would actually be removing and not, or turning the park into some other emphasis, like Brian was highlighting earlier about, is this a place to go for quiet and serenity? And is this a place for, you know, you're gonna go play lawn games? Is this a place to go, you know?
Like, I don't think Smith Park should have swings and slides.
Yeah.
No.
If you're gonna put something in there as a play feature, which I don't know that should have, I would put like just naturalized rock, you know, that kids can boulder on or, you know, something
Yeah.
like that.
Well, I feel like that park is sort of your step back in time. So, you know,
It should be a picnic.
more benches and picnic areas and things like that.
Okay, so for the playground equipment replacement, do we want to choose some specific parks that we're looking at? Like list Fort Nugent, the
Yeah, I'd
field
say,
replacement?
so your goal then would be, replace the equipment in these parks.
Yeah.
Right? That'd be my suggestion, but you can put whatever you
Yep,
want.
nope, that works. So we've got Fort Nugent.
Keep in mind, it's a two-year goal, so you don't have to solve the world in the 2 years, just what we really want to tackle that you feel are the highest priorities.
Well, I think if that's something that we
Fort
already know
Nugent must.
is not safe, that it needs to be done, that we should definitely just get on that one.
I think Sumner Park needs looked at. It's fairly visible and the other ones. There's that one over that's adjacent to Lewick. What is it? It was in here. What is it?
Ridge Haven.
Ridge Haven. I mean, does anybody make, do we have a way in which we can get head counts and usage counts?
I was gonna say, that's kind of a
Because-
weird one because it's, most people don't even know it's there.
Right.
So,
I mean, there's
I
this,
mean, I say most people, I don't know if that's true, but like, it's so hidden that,
Maybe I would suggest one of the action items is to place counters at the parks, so we can start getting that data. I doubt we have any.
how do we do that? Like, what kind of device do we use for counting?
It's like a trail counter.
I mean,
We have them all over our parks and trails and other cities like that.
is that how, I mean, just technologically wise, is that a camera that counts motion? Is that something that people step on?
Yeah, no, it's a motion laser.
Oh, okay.
There's different ways of doing
Yeah.
it, but yeah.
So it's like a trail cam, I mean, in a sense of capturing usage. Because I have a feeling that usage should dictate budget. I got a feeling we're gonna find some interesting things about usage that my assumptions will be challenged, but I think, you know, some of the other ideas about other ones will be as well. I think that would be the first priority, because
I think
without
usage
data,
potential
Yeah.
is probably more important than usage, because really bad facilities probably aren't going to get used.
well, I think the other thing is we need, you know, a lot of these parks are meant to serve the community on foot. We also need a demographic study to know if there's anybody there that would actually use them. I mean, has the neighborhood aged out from, let's just say Shadow Glen, for example, that little park in there, has the neighborhood aged out to the point there's no kids? I doubt it, but without that understanding, again, last thing I want to do is spend $100,000 throwing playground equipment at something to find out, again, that nobody wants to use it
Yeah.
and nobody will.
And what are people looking for? Like,
Yeah.
when I'm taking my kids to the park, I want to know, all right, one, does it have a restroom?
Yeah,
Does it have a
right.
drinking fountain? You know, is there a grill there for, you know, going picnicking? You know, is there going to be, you know, if we're going for a picnic, you know, is there a nice shady grass area nearby a playground that they're going to be able to spend a half hour, an hour at?
100%. If I take my kids to the park with the playground at a park, what's the first thing that happens when I get them out of the car?
Yeah, go to the bathroom.
Right. And at most of our parks, there's not one.
Yeah.
So it's like either we put bathrooms in these or we abandon them as child function, because that's the most frustrating thing for parents.
Mhm.
But okay. Yeah, I like it.
So maybe looking at identifying amenities
Yeah, that's a good way of saying that.
that are appropriate for the
Usage.
purpose of that park, you know, what kind of a park it is. I think you could divide out the parks between recreation, like I said, programs, recreation use, individual play use, you know, family kind of picnicking, open space, and then conservation areas. It's kind of your 4 park types usually. And neighborhood parks usually fall somewhere in between the individual play use and the like picnicking, open space.
Alright, so, Ryan, Sally,
I really need to delegate some stuff. to some stuff.
Who do you want on here?
Well, my name's not up there yet. So
You want to be on this one? Okay. Did you have any other staff members,
We're talking about playground equipment.
or do you want me to remove?
You know
any?
what? Why don't you put, take Tally off, put Eric on there. I don't think I'll do staff introductions with you guys. Like each month we'll have a couple staff come and tell you what they do and their
Yeah.
expertise, and maybe do a little training with you guys as well, just so you can get to know them a little bit.
Just a comment, would it make sense to put Eric on the inclusive playground if they're getting information, or just a thought?
Yeah, yeah, 'cause
You know,
that kind of
it's
goes
the-
in line, yeah.
If they're learning about equipment or different stuff, just a thought.
Maybe you ought to put Eric H, so we.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you can- or you can
Eric we're
initial me.
talking about.
Thanks.
Alright, do you guys have any other key issues for
I do, I think.
facilities?
The unused parklands, Harbor Heights. I've heard a lot of comments about Harbor Heights, Northeast 7th. Some of these other spaces that are potential concerns for unwelcome campers, let's call that, transient population. I've heard a lot of concern regarding that. Also, and then also Friend Marsh, same thing in some of the visibility around there. So those 3 spaces I've heard. And I've been out walking around just asking people that are using the parks right now. And those 3 things I'm hearing over and over again. What's happening with Harbor Heights? Can anything be done off of Northeast 7th? And then can we continue to improve on the trail and the Friend Marsh property to keep that safe, visible? And can we put trails in some of that extra area to use it rather than it being ugly? So those kind of 3 open or undeveloped spaces are a
So-
concern.
Safety and improvements.
But I think it's more developing a plan so we have something to communicate, because the Harbor Heights thing actually has a lot of frustration around it in the community when I talk to people about it. They think that we either wasted their money or they just want to know what's going on. So. And I think there's a lot of anxiety around it too, just because is this going to be the place for the sports fields? And I'm like, I hope not. But because nobody wants to foot that bill. But, just with knowing what's happening at Fort Nugent, I think that we could put a plan forward with some of those spaces.
Safety and with information.
I think just having some kind of,
Project updates.
or vision casting or something. I mean, creating a plan for it. And also knowing that there's money sitting there that could be used for very simple things like punching in some trails to put foot traffic on these areas and, just to help with that problem. Because it gets bad real quick. As you probably know from your time out at Fort Nugent, how bad it's been in
Oh, yeah.
cycles out there. So it's good now, or better.
Maybe change project updates with communication with the community.
I mean,
Planning.
I would, and this might be a personality problem, but I would push a little further to say, cast a vision or begin to create a,
Yeah, and you can put that under goals and
Yeah,
priorities.
maybe that's a
We're just
better way
talking
of saying
about
it.
Key issues is safety of
Yeah.
these open.
you're right.
spaces.
I was thinking the key issue was the lack of vision, but you're probably right. It goes around those other things that are highlighted that needs the other piece. I think you're
So your
smart.
goal would be, to create a plan, or vision plan, whatever, that addresses the safety issues and then planning for next steps of improvements of these areas.
Right, and to communicate with the
the population about what we're trying to do in those spaces,
So communication plan
Hmm.
onto those.
planning and communication or whatever.
And then
I
why
mean, it
don't you
goes
list,
with
why don't
Tom's
you list them
marketing
out,
too.
specifically the areas that we're talking about. So Harbor Heights, Fred Marsh.
And Northeast 7th.
So- We'll get to the who. Sabrina will be on that one.
And I'm more than happy to be on that one as well. I've had a lot of experience with relocating the transients out of Fort Nugent, so. I'll get into it.
So,
Does anybody else besides Sabrina need to be on that? Brian? Staff wise?
Would you put Blaine on there too? Me and Blaine.
I mean, Tally and I have communicated a lot with this over the years, and he's got some passion about it, but I don't know how much you want to put on his plate either.
These are rather large issues for these ones. Because we have some land decisions coming up around Fred Marsh,
Sure.
procurement of some property
Yeah.
and what's the future of
Yeah.
that. So that's something Blaine's working on right now.
Mhm.
Harbor Heights, we kind of went into it backwards. So we bought the property, and then when we, and we figured, oh, well, this is what it'll cost to put in sports fields. This is what sports fields cost, is what it was. Okay, well, that's part of it. So when we actually went to look at site prep, that went from, I think it was 3 million to $11 million just for phase one.
Mhm.
So that kind of killed it right there. And now it's waiting. Okay, well, what do we do?
Yeah.
So that's where it's at.
I only brought up Tally because he's so passionate, and I hate, I like to get
But
people
we do
where they're
have,
excited.
we have transit encampments up there. So, talking about enforcement and how do we keep these places safe? Because it is public open space
Mhm.
right now. And there are some like social trails through there. But.
Yeah.
Action items for those. I think we, for right now, why don't we just put it as a board agenda item to talk a little more about the planning, and we can have Blaine come and give a little background and the status on each one of those. Since he's been the point for most of it.
I think all of these need history or background, whatever you want to call it. So each one of these items, so we all get an idea of where we've been and how we got to where we are.
Yeah, when you look at the action items, I mean, those are going to be your agenda items, right?
Yeah.
Coming in the next 2 years. And we're still on power and duty number 1 of 6.
Yeah, so you can probably just put background. on
Yeah, I'm
each
done
one of
then.
them.
And I'd probably leave that. I think I had 4 fields for each,
Yeah.
simply because that's all you're gonna really have time to
Yeah.
tackle with each one of these if you end up doing, 2 to 4 for each one.
Sure.
okay, so programming. Move to the other side of the board.
Yeah.
Yeah, use up whatever space you want there.
When you think programming in your mind, how are you defining it? Or how are you envisioning it in your head?
Right, so when we talk about programming, what we're really talking about is life enrichment, activities for the community. Something that's fun for the family to do of all ages, right? Should address youth, adults, seniors, family, individual. This is also a good opportunity for us to create a revenue source to help
Yeah.
support other areas that require a heavier subsidy. We need to think about stakeholders that already do programming. We have leagues that provide league programs. Northwood Parks and Recreation District do some youth programming, right now, not a whole lot, but they do some.
Yeah.
There's kind of a lack of adult programming in the community. I mean, and there's not a lot as far as like active, what I would call activations, kind of smaller community special events, just something, hey, what do you want to do this weekend? I don't know, what's fun to do? What do you want to take the kids to go do this weekend? The answer to that question, I think, fits pretty solidly in that as well.
Where does the marathon fit in all of this?
Marathon is a city event. We contracted out.
Yeah.
It's
I just
actually
wondered if
the
that-
only special event I think that the city does
Mhm.
by itself, right?
Okay. I just didn't know if that's somehow tied into the recreation piece of this,
Yeah, I
of
mean,
our
we
department.
all keep in mind, like, this is all brand new.
Right.
So we're,
No, and that's
we
why I was
are,
asking.
we're hiring on a recreation coordinator, and the senior services division will transition into a recreation division.
Okay.
So it's,
Is
what do you guys feel like the community needs?
Is Hydros for Heroes a city event? I mean, how does that?
What is that?
It's
No.
the hydroplane races? I don't know.
Oh.
Yeah, that's put on by the Craig McKenzie team.
Gotcha.
It's a fundraiser.
Yeah, really. I wasn't sure. There- some-
Yeah,
Maybe
they-
a good goal would be to just take an inventory.
Mhm. Yeah,
What's out there, who operates it, and is the city involved in any coordination? That kind of thing, because I have no idea who does what. I mean, you bring up just a couple of them.
Which I think hits on probably what I would think of a key issue in the community is a lot of people don't know what's available. Like I hear a lot like, there's nothing for, the kids to do. There are some stuff out there, but there's not a one-stop place for it. So I think partnering with like the paper on a, really filling in the event calendar, or, hey, if you want to take an art class, here's, some options to do that and who's doing it. If you want to do a sports program or you want to do a date night, here's some fun thing, you can go do.
That's why I think the marketing piece is
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
important.
I was gonna
It's
say, I
really
think
important.
the city website could be kind of updated for the Parks and Recreation portion of it. But also in other places I've lived, there's like activity guides or whatever that
Right.
come out quarterly or twice a year or whatever. I wish we had something like that, because it would be nice to kind of compile all the options of, this is what's happening this summer that you can sign your kids up for, or you can sign up for.
Yeah.
and then non-digital.
Mhm,
Yeah.
yeah.
That would be really helpful. I know when we first moved here, it was like South Whitby has a whole pamphlet that comes
Mhm.
out and has everything listed, and we didn't have anything up here. So it's like
Yeah.
you either see someone wearing a sweatshirt or you find something on Facebook.
Mhm.
Difference between us and South Woodby is they actually had Parks Worth marketing. I mean, I'm not trying to be rude, but frankly, I think the reason the marketing didn't happen is because most of our parks are kind of embarrassing. The land down there where they have, I mean, you've been there for soccer and stuff, they've got that whole Max Welton area place and it goes over to Langley Road. Like, that's a wonderful facility. And they programmed to it because they've actually built it and surrounded it and it's well taken care of. We've got, Cold War era jungle gyms and gravel and rotten timbers and stuff and
Mhm.
well houses, and we call them parks. I wouldn't market those. It's a hard sell.
But we'll want to market.
But once we do
all
this,
stuff.
we have something to market to, because this is actually really great. Like, and some of these things y'all are talking about is fantastic.
So maybe your kind of goal priorities with that first one of identifying what's available in the community would be like the creation of activity guide, improvements to the website, like Carrie was saying, kind of a communication plan.
Does the website have any programming on it right now?
No, but there is, sorry, I might be wrong about that.
I don't think so.
There is like a page that says like, this is a list of all the parks, but even that is really minimal in terms of what you learn about each park. Like there's photos for a
Yeah.
few of the parks, but like it'd be great if there was photos for every park
Mhm.
showing what's available and like listing out, we've got picnic tables and grills or whatever happens to be at that.
Yeah, the
park.
full
There's
inventory, yeah.
one like Word document that you can open up that says like Bridgehaven Park, Tot Lot, Luke Park.
And some of the things aren't even accurate anymore either. Like
Exactly,
they're
yeah.
so outdated. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah. I was laughing at that the other day with
Yeah.
my wife. We were looking at that and having fun with it.
I don't know, that seems like
But
it's gonna be part of everything.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Almost. But should it be its own list? I forget what you call this list here.
The marketing
Or duties?
or,
What does the city have? Do they have an information person or somebody that does?
Yeah, we have a communication officer, a PIO. I don't know what official title is.
Well, she's communications and IT manager,
okay,
so,
well, that's a big job.
yeah. So,
I think this stuff falls under programming though, because if this is correlating with what was in the spreadsheet, the second point is the board shall advise the city council regarding the planning, promotion, and operation of the
Yeah.
city's recreation programs, senior services, community special events, and other enrichment programming. So that includes the promotion part.
And I think it's something that we can phase into as we start building the plan. Let's put that in the activity guide to get them in the rhythm of receiving something from us so they can see, and then show them actual real progress when the next one comes out. And
That's a
then
good idea.
roll it over as these things launch. Let's say we get the inclusive playground down first. And so that shows up Q1 of next year or whatever. Now, what was a dream, in the summer issue is now the reality, and it's opening, and here's what's happening. Now we've got the programming for it. And here's the other things that are coming, and then roll them in. And then we naturally build that from what was a communication standpoint of what's happening to now here's what you can actually be a part of. Plus in those things, when we put those dreams out there, it's actually a call to action for private funding potentially. Because people in the community and small businesses do like to support some of these things. I mean, you see the plaque at Fort Nugent, there's like 50 of them.
And a lot of people just don't know
Yeah, they don't-
what's happening to support it financially.
And we need to give people an opportunity to get back into that sort of civic engagement.
Yeah, I love when we get down to funding, talking about
Yeah.
sponsorships and, yeah, a lot of all kinds of ideas for that one. But. All right, action items for activity guide, website improvements, park guide, so
Well, I'm-
descriptions.
I think Tom said the first action item is getting the inventory of who's all doing things out there. What all clubs, groups have programming and what that looks like and where. And then what's missing. And then we need some sort of marketing strategy, I think, to tie in with that. Were the two things I was hearing. Oh, Brian's got a furrowed brown purse lips. What are you thinking?
I was just thinking, one great band of white. It's my Mr. Calling. Yeah, I'm just, okay.
And then I just think of marketing strategy, and that's the action item, right? Our marketing strategy and some sort of program or mailer, right? That's we obviously need to hit social media
Yeah.
hard and frequently, and we need to, you got to work the algorithm.
We do a newsletter with the senior programs right now. And Marina has kind of a newsletter as well, so we can take those and expand and fill in with recreation programs, with special events. We could probably get some of the other organizations that are doing programs and events, maybe they pay in a little fee and we market some of their stuff as well, just so we have a good, like, hey, here's an activity guide for the community of
Yeah.
what's going on.
Does the city have social media coordinator? Anything?
Sabrina Comex is that as well.
Okay. Because that might be something, the action item is to research that. If we can't provide that in-house, there's a lot of low-cost options to have very pointed, direct, but also human posts on your social media to keep that going, so you keep popping up on people's feeds. Because if you don't work it all the time, it's useless, and then we need to integrate all that from the YouTube channel to Instagram to whatever else we're going to use.
we use all of that
Yeah.
already.
We just,
So that with
I follow it
the
how
social
David comes
media
up.
and the website,
Yeah.
I handle a lot of stuff on the website, Sabrina, social media. But as long as the content is given to us, we can do it. It's just, we don't have time to go out for every division in the city and get the content.
Yeah.
So if the content is fed, we can get it out. And we're looking at the newsletter on our website, this like a citywide newsletter too, so that might help funnel some of
I
that.
mean, throw the newspaper up there as well.
Small businesses use content creators all the time, and it's fairly inexpensive in order to get it out there. It's like, we don't have people for that either. And, for a few $100s a month, you can get somebody to do a lot of this stuff.
Okay, so which of you are the Twitter, Instagrammer, Facebooker?
I'm not on TikTok, but
All your
I can
TikTok
learn.
Do you have any other staff members that want to look for that one?
Yeah, let's put Liz on. Okay,
Anything else? for
programming.
I think the other thing actually on that one though is we need to strategic partnerships with the other, we said who does what, but also forming partnerships with them, because to avoid redundancy
Yeah,
with Parks and Rec and the school district and any of those other people that are doing stuff.
Well, even the churches, I mean, there's a lot of different organizations that do things that people might think are a city and they're not.
it might behoove us at some point to have a joint board meeting with the North Whitby Parks and Recreation Districts Board. I'm acutely aware, just because Jay Cochran was the other one that had that I was interviewing with against whatever for this position. There's a lot of questions about what's the future of the Parks and Recreation District with the creation of the city park department. How does what we do going to affect them? How do we, partner with without like being redundant, stepping on people's toes? I'm very sensitive to it because everything we do is probably going to have an effect on them. And where we just exist, they have to go back out for a levy, every few years. And so, I don't know if residents are aware of who's who doing what, or if they even care.
No, people have been here for a long time.
They only have clarity when it comes to voting on paying more money to the pool, and then it gets forgotten, it seems. It's like, oh yeah, the city doesn't pay for the pool. And then that gets passed eventually, and then it breaks again. And
I don't know if the question will be asked. Well, the city has a Parks and Recreation Department now, so why are we paying for a district? So I'm trying to be careful.
the only difference is the district draws from a wider source of funding.
Yeah.
And that's actually to our advantage to partner with, to have access to those funds and strengthen them so that we can keep that source of income going for the mutual benefit of the community. Because the people in the county use all the city stuff. They might not live in and pay all the use and, taxes and stuff, but they come in here and they, ask anybody who lives, even if they live all the way up at Assumption Pass, they still say they're from Oak Harbor.
Right.
And they use the facilities accordingly. They make up a big chunk of the soccer club, so.
I can sympathize with what you're faced with, because I can just imagine, okay, now you got this, who are you, what are you doing? How's that gonna impact us?
No kidding.
If you could get, I know it's not easy to do, but if you can get the appropriate groups together and try to guide it towards what do we need for the community, as opposed to what do I need to do to keep doing what I'm doing, put the focus there. Like I say, it's not easy. I've dealt with joint bases.
Oh, man.
The Navy takes over the Air Force base and they say, well, what are you doing for us? It just goes on and on.
Yeah, and that's where a master plan will,
Yeah.
help a lot, because they do a community needs assessment and find out, okay, this is what is happening in the community. This is what the gaps are, what's not happening right now that you probably need to address. So that'll kind of help inform that a little bit.
We've got 14 minutes. So
What else on programming? Are there
I don't know.
key issue as far as programming, other than we need to create some?
Yeah, I think that's it. It's discovery and creation. I think that's where we're at. It's pretty infancy stages, unless I'm understanding the environment wrong, which,
I think you're right.
okay.
So you want to try and tackle trees and conservation?
Sure.
Whatever, it's,
We can start.
Might as well.
Yeah.
Is there any plans to do, I mean, are we set with that tree set up on 20? Is that satisfying, checking the boxes? I mean, inside the city, is everybody happy with that, how that's turned out? With the trees kind of along Highway 20 and stuff? I
We're
mean,
talking Centennial Grove.
yeah, no, all the trees that like line the road, which were supposed to grow up and, create some sort of canopy, which for 30 years has not done that, mostly just been places for drunk drivers to hit, I think. I mean, has that been a successful project? Is there feeling around that like this is a great thing, or is it just a source of extra work for city workers? Okay. Because I feel like that should be our test if we're gonna do anything else like that anywhere, as part of Tree City or otherwise. Like, are we happy with that? Is it just a source of work? Is it a waste of money?
Yeah, so I would say, I mean, a recommendation for me, but totally up to you guys. A couple key issues. One is identifying our inventory, and do we have a good tree plan that goes with our Tree City USA designation on what should exist as far as density of trees, where they're located, where do we need to concentrate on doing more plantings, things like that. And then the flip side of that is responsibility then, right? So we should look really closely as a board at the city code regarding street trees, especially trees in the right of way. It very loosely says that adjacent property owners are responsible for the care and maintenance of the trees. What does that mean? It's very cost prohibitive to have to take a tree out. It can be as much as $10,000.
Yeah.
If the city planted a tree in front of your property, then suddenly you need to fit the bill for $8,000 to remove it. We're probably going to have an issue with that, right? So we probably need to revise and update the code in relation to that.
Okay, do you want that as under the issue, or should that be a goal for?
I'd say the goal is create a tree inventory, create a tree plan.
Yeah, we need a tree plan. I mean, really,
Right.
a tree, planting use and protection plan. Because in there, we need to think about things like windfalls. We need to think about lifespan of trees. I mean, with having an arborist now, Bob, he's a very knowledgeable individual. And we have so many trees at places like Fort Nugent Park that are at the end of their life that need taken down. I mean, there were diseased trees out there that stood for years before they finally got removed. And just being able to survey our stuff so we can do that, so we don't kill more trees in the process. And then not make our plans that revolve around just cutting down a whole bunch of trees and then not putting new trees elsewhere. So we need to think about how we plant plant to make up for removal as well, because having a plan in place like that looks really good, especially when you're a tree city. If you're taking out a tree and you're planting 5.
So you can throw Bob on there.
Yeah. I mean, because now we have Harbor Heights, which is forested, that needs to be assessed.
Yeah, probably a key issue is our open spaces.
Yeah.
Public lands that are not maintained, designated, kind of playground parks,
Right.
But places like Harbor Heights, like Fred Marsh.
Yeah.
So that kind of goes back over to the unused, what does that say?
Right.
Yeah, the unused,
Unused
undeveloped
undeveloped
spaces. So I guess you can put me on this one then, if you'd like, since I'm working on the other thing and there's overlap. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think I might join you on this one as well.
Yes. You read my mind.
I think one of the goals, I'm not sure if it'd be a goal or not, that would be the park board education, if you want to call it that. I mean, I'm starting from scratch. And
Yeah, so kind of under-
some of these things have impact on almost everything we're doing.
Rules, policies, and approvals. In fact, I had talked about that, doing just a new board member training.
Yeah.
So we'd like to do that kind of an orientation. Hey, here's your guys' responsibilities and how you would run meetings and what your duty is to the public and council and all that kind of stuff.
I think that's a good idea because we are really very new. Like Jana's been here the longest.
that most of those meetings were always canceled, so.
Yeah, I've been
Really
here
don't have that
the
many under my
second
belt.
longest, and I've been on since December, so it's pretty new.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
pretty new
right.
group.
Yeah, and I think because we're gonna go to alternating terms too, it will help us for, those of us that'll stay on for when new ones come along too, because we'll have been through that.
So the board education, how would you,
So key issue,
How would
board
you capture that?
education. Goals would be to do have a board orientation training. And I would also put on there, have a recurring educational element to our meetings. Most of the boards and commissions I've always worked with, we'd have like experts come and just talk about, whatever, all these issues that we're
Yeah.
doing. Okay, well, who's someone from the state, or who's with, who's a marine biologist to talk about shoreline and why we have permits related to replacing the dock in General Park or whatever.
So does it make sense to pull our education about agenda items for the following month? So we're educating the month before we're actually meeting and discussing on it?
Right.
Okay, from the stuff that we're workshopping on here.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I like that. That would help me.
And that should be Jana and me and Liz,
Okay.
us three. And anyone else that wants to be a part of that, but since I work with you on the agenda.
Makes sense.
This is just its own separate category.
That's under. is that
Rules
under
and policies.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
rules, policies, and rules.
here you go.
Because we don't have a current tree plan, to go back to that, right? There's no current tree plan for maintaining the designation of Tree City
Not
and.
really, I mean,
to-
this is about as
Yeah.
close as you have what's in, there's not really
Yeah, I mean, it was,
anything really to talk about.
okay,
Um,
I think that makes sense. And as far as conservation then goes beyond trees, is there anything else that we need to be aware of? Water? Conservation in regard to the parks? I don't know. I mean, how's our watering? Are we doing a lot of wastewater? Do we have a lot of are we watering a lot of sidewalks when we sprinkle? Do we actually managing our drainage well, like Fort Nugent aside, because we all know that problem.
We have few irrigation systems, and
Yeah.
most of them are very outdated and fail.
Yeah. Yeah.
And climate change is real. We are going to have to see what this summer does. We were in triple digits last summer,
Mhm.
and we totally scorched all of our green spaces.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I came here, everything was browned out.
Mhm.
So I don't know.
And that gets us to that turf conversation. And there's also other things you can do, like you don't do surface watering with new sports fields. You actually water underneath.
A lot of our parks are,
You know.
don't have a lot of topsoil.
Mhm.
There's not.
Oh
much-
no, the dirt's horrible.
They don't have good water retention.
So is that something we want to address, or do we just want to leave that boogeyman hidden for now? That might be, is that I guess when I'm looking at thinking about a master plan or a longer term plan for fields, water conservation is going to be a really big deal. One, because it's so expensive. Because every penny we pay for water, we're paying 3 pennies to get rid of it, right? Right? You pay 3 times the amount for your water just to process it through the sewage facility. So I don't know. And since the city's on the hook for that, I think we should probably have a plan in place that says we're going to be as good stewards of that as possible, to not put that over capacity and increase the cost for all the other folks when we have to add to it. I don't know what that looks like as far as creating that plan, or if that's just something we need to have on the radar.
was that a Parks and Recreation responsibility, or was that a Public Works?
It's a marketing, I think at this point, to make sure that we're taking good care of our water. And it ties in with our conservation, with our parks. I mean, if we're going to be redeveloping
I
sports
know, but it's
fields.
another department of the city already doing that and responsible for that.
as another, well, we don't, like Brian said, we don't really have much watering going on there, which is causing the problem. But if we're building new facilities and we're thinking about new fields, we're going to have to water them
I think with
to
part
make
of
them
that,
useful in the
it's-
summer, because soccer can't
Yeah.
play on dead fields. I mean, you
It's
can,
creating
but
a landscape
Yeah.
standard
Brutal.
for the city. right?
yeah,
So whenever we're doing public or even private projects, when we do review of their plans, are they meeting a standard for irrigation and water conservation? Is it, are we making best use of latest technology for equipment and planting materials? Are they using the recommended? Because this is not as big an issue as it is like in the rest of like the Southwest or
right. Yeah,
other
it's not
areas
Phoenix,
where,
but
they are actually running out of water. But, the saying for me was always, if the only person stepping on the turf is the guy who's mowing it, then it doesn't need to be turf, right?
Yeah.
So just looking at smart landscape
Right.
design, I guess.
well, yeah, and thinking about how much time the park staff right now wastes just riding spends riding a mower. It's a lot.
Sure.
Is there, if we think about more creative options that are still totally useful and practical, can we free up some hours to put into more strategic uses while we're thinking about doing all this? Because this is a lot,
Yes, it is a lot.
and there's not staff for a lot of this right now, unless we move at a very glacial pace. So how can we be strategic about that so we can take advantage of the ergs that we have available to us, but then also for future hires,
Eric sounds like he wants to be on this.
I don't, but I will.
So do we have any action items for this one, or?
I think
Well, I'm by myself, so
it
I'm
would
just
be,
gonna get
it would be identify what our systems currently have in place. Look at our usage and staff hours for maintenance.
Mhm.
The cost that we spend on watering, costs we spend on mowing, and then look at usage of, like a recreational field, that makes sense to invest in for good turf with good topsoil that is watered, can be a usable field. Otherwise, it'll get worn through really fast. But you wouldn't put that same level of maintenance into an open space that no one ever goes on. It's just a green space. Could something be done with, wildflowers and kind of natural grasses and achieve the same softening of the built environment?
Yeah, do we all do all native species stuff, in our beautification areas that are gonna thrive irrespective? I mean, you can make Salal look pretty if you control it. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to be a jungle, but let's just free up the hours and the care. It doesn't all need to be grass, poorly drained grass on bad dirt,
You can put Callie and Bob on that.
Well, there's a dream team for you.
Oh, yeah, that too. Okay, well, I think you guys got a good start on this. You want to have this on the now, I think that you've got kind of rhythm and what you're doing for building these. You want to put it on the next agenda and keep going with this for a certain amount of time during your next board meeting, or do you like having these as special sessions separately from your board meetings?
I'd like to do something at the board meetings.
Yeah. I do think this is productive though,
Yeah.
too.
I do too. I like having this
Yeah.
format.
Yeah.
But I agree, we should have something in the,
Because I feel like a lot of the board meetings is kind of an information dump.
And
Which is
not
good. I mean, it's
right.
necessary. We need to catch up, but also I think having something productive to work on in there, and also for our guests from the city who are going to come in, to show that we're not just for lack of a better word, shuffling papers, you know, that we're doing more than just those things, but they're seeing
Being a head nod.
something, you know, they're seeing something get worked on in there to give them hope and optimism and progress. And
I'll clean this up
But
and
we
put
need
it into
this.
the spreadsheet, Mikhail.
Oh, you will?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's why I was taking pictures. 'Cause I had
No,
to.
plus, I think for me, this is helpful to see where you all are interested and excited about things and are learning and growing. And that's exciting for me and makes me more excited to do the work.
Yeah, I would love, at the end of the year for you guys to meet with council and say, hey, we met with you guys on our book. Here's our checklist of, we got this, and this accomplished. We're going to roll over these items. And what do you guys think? Are we on the right track with it? Yeah, it's always good to have a focus. There's 1,001 issues. We're not going to get to all of them in 1 year, but we can tackle some of these things. Yeah, I would like to keep going through until we, have addressed all of your powers and duties. You guys are happy with it. We feel like, okay, we have a good full plate for the next 2 years. And then we'll just return a report as we go along each meeting, right?
So when should we do this again?
So what I heard was you guys want to break out a little bit of time at your next board meeting to keep going on this, or?
I think we should do this again, though, from when Carrie said this was
Yeah.
productive, we should do this, but then also find if we want to work on any,
Yeah, pull some of
Something in
those
here?
specific items to talk about at the.
Okay, so we won't do the building of your powers and or priorities at the meeting. We'll just start on what we already have
Right.
listed out.
Or you can report on it.
Right. So we'll put those on agenda items, and then we'll continue, we'll do another special work session with you guys to keep going where we kind of left off here.
That makes sense to me.
My name is only up there once, but just so you know, I'm interested in funding and rules and policies, so you can plug me in there.
Yeah, we still have more than half to get through, so.
Yeah.
we're all right.
The other thing is, should we be at least referring back or looking back to the goals and things that are listed in the planning document?
In,
Or trying to
this-
tie what we're doing here to that?
Yeah, and that's why I asked you guys to look through it. Like, is there anything in here that you feel like, because they did some surveys with all this, so you already have kind of a baseline, I guess, a benchmark to kind of look back and get some information on of, hey, this is what had been built out for the priorities for the city. Where are we on each of these?
The problem,
Well, I guess I was kind of looking at it reversed, is to take what we're doing here and then put like a reference to that.
oh,
You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
So
well,
we're doing this and this
to
supports
show that
that.
met that,
Yeah,
yeah.
just showing that what we're doing
Yeah.
supports this and here's where it supports it.
we'll be doing a new Parks and Recreation master plan. So yeah, this will go into that.
I feel like we need to get that data again, though, because everybody's changed their priorities from COVID since COVID happened, and that's pre-COVID, and like we live in a different world now.
Yeah.
And I don't
And the
know if,
departments, I mean, you have a new department.
yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like if we can find a way to get that kind of data again, it would be immensely helpful, and not in relation to a specific location like it was with the Harbor Heights survey, but just in general, because I do think we're going to notice priorities have changed.
Mhm.
And we're kind of in re-emerging from COVID right now, and it might be a very helpful time to gather information.
And if we do that, I think we need to be really intentional about how we do that type of survey and then actually follow the data, because we've all seen how it goes when that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
All right, I'll let you guys
Cool.
go and monopolize a good chunk of your day. Appreciate you guys taking the time.